Hey guys, it's Victoria and welcome back to Femmehead. So today I wanted to share the story of Femmehead and kind of how it came about. And when I was making my notes for this video, I had to dig back into my old journals to tell that story. And it was quite the journey going back. By looking back at my old journals, I can see how far I've come, but also it makes me excited for looking back in another 5 years or 10 years and seeing, everything that's happened since this moment right now. So this video might get a bit drawn out and I'm going to try to be as quick and concise as possible, but there is a lot that goes into starting something beyond just creating a YouTube channel or a website. And I think sometimes all of that gets overlooked, and when things aren't going all peachy cheesy, it can be hard not to think that you're doing it all wrong. And the thing is, there's no right or wrong way to do any of this, and I'm not sitting here pretending that I know the right way to do it, because I don't. I just know how to fail and then learn from my failures. So I'm going to try to take you through everything as chronologically as possible. So I want to start back in 2013 because that was the changing point, and that's kind of where Femhead started, even though there was so much that happened in my life up until that point that, influenced who I am and what I'm doing. But 2013 is the year we're going to begin with. So I went vegan in April, and I mention this because it is so important to the creation of Femmehead, because if I had not started getting into nutrition and learning about food and what I was putting in my body, there would be no Femmehead. And this is because I finally realized that what I was putting into my body was affecting how I felt, and it finally made me question the one thing I was putting into my body every single day, which was the pill. So at the end of July or early August, I actually can't remember the exact date, I ended up quitting the pill, getting off of hormonal birth control, and this is another very crucial step for obvious reasons. This was kind of a year of self-discovery for me. I started learning how to chart, I started learning how to cook and nourish and fuel myself with the foods I was eating. But I also struggled a lot this year with anxiety and panic attacks and mild depression. And even though I felt so much better mentally and physically after going vegan and getting off the pill, I still struggled so much on a mental level because I was so lost with what I wanted to do with my life. And it took me a really long time to finally feel confident and happy with where I was at, instead of always looking towards the future and what could possibly be and what wasn't in that moment. At this point in 2013, I worked 3 different jobs. I worked 16-hour days, 7 days a week, and Sunday I called my day off because I only worked a 6-hour shift. I traveled to Italy in November, and while looking back, this was one of my least favorite trips I went on. It was really important for me in self-discovery and struggling and learning how to travel on my own. So moving into 2014, I felt really lost this year. I came to realize that I desired a job working with women and girls, but I had no idea what that would be or how I could find that or figure it out. January, I took a natural family planning course through Couples to Couples League, just for my own personal sake, because I just, recently in the past 8 months started charting and I wanted to make sure I was doing it right. And it was around this point that I realized that, hey, there might be something here. This might be the realm of which I want to do something with, but I still did not know what that would be. I didn't know how I would make money or what I could offer to people that they would want to spend their money that they had worked hard to earn on. In March, I started working at a restaurant, which I can see right here, and I stopped working at the restaurant I was working at in Indianola, where I went to school at, because my car kept breaking down and I didn't want to keep spending the money needed to repair it, because it really wasn't worth that much money. And I still don't have a car to this day. Michael has a car, my mom has a car, and I use both of those cars to get around, and then I bike around, longboard around, take public transportation. So that's something that's still I don't have a car. So I had 2 jobs at this point. I worked at the restaurant and I worked at a store that I worked at since high school. It's where my mom works, and those were my 2 jobs, and I still worked a ton. April was when I started reaching out to women who inspired me, and this was a really big step because it took me forever to do it. It took me forever to just write an email to someone and say hey, what you're doing really means something to me. It really inspires me, and I am curious about doing something similar someday. And I never thought anyone would respond. So I wrote one of the authors of the book, The Pill, Are You Sure It's For You? Alexandra Pope, and she responded, and I was flabbergasted that she actually responded, and she actually put me in contact with the other author, Jane Bennett, who I don't think I was able to find the email for. So I had some chats with Jane, and she actually invited me to apply for a facilitator training she was doing that summer in England. April 10th, 2014. Let's find it. I said, being able to share what I know is so much fun. It also makes me realize that I actually really do know quite a bit about it all. I'm proud of this. I wish I could jump in. I just need to start a blog and create it and just add to it as I go. The money will come. Also in April, I made a list of skills, strengths, and interests I had and was trying to just brainstorm what I should do. And that's my list right here. And I still have this. Like, it's important to keep those things. I started writing letters to the universe. I started writing love letters to people that I left around town. And I also started working through a fam guide that I actually still have and I never finished going through. So it was this spring in 2014 that I found a blog, a website by a gal named Bienda Maria. And she's very important because she comes into play in a little bit and I'll talk about her, but she was very important in my self-discovery and getting Femmehead started. So in June, I finally, saved up the money, bought my plane ticket. I had gotten accepted in the facilitator training and I traveled to England for an awesome program called Celebration Day for Girls. And while I have still to this day not put on one of the programs, it was such an important thing for me to go do, to realize that there was like-minded women out there that valued the same things that I wanted to show people. And so while I'm not getting together groups of girls and kind of welcoming them into womanhood with a positive spin instead of shame and embarrassment, I'm doing that another way, hopefully with Femmehead. In July, I discovered that I gave myself a deadline of October to quit my job and do Femmehead full time. Femmehead did not exist at this point. Let's mention that. I gave myself a deadline to quit my jobs and start doing something full-time that I did not know what it was. I thought that by giving myself a deadline, it would force myself and give myself urgency to figure it all out, but that's not how it works, it turns out. And obviously that did not work, and I did not quit my job in October. In August is when I came up with the name Femmehead, actually. But I will put on the screen kind of the breakdown of how I came up with Femmehead. So Femmehead stands for Female Menstrual Health and Education, and I'll show you how the letters break down, and I came up with Femmehead. And for me, femme means female, and I know people think that I'm trying to say femme or whatever the French word for female is, but it's not. That was never my intention. Just in my head, femme means female, and then head means knowledge, wisdom, power. Okay, August 25th. Sometimes I have to stop myself, step back, and just realize that I'm creating this thing that is going to become something. Years down the road, I will look at moments such as these and remember that time I sat on the red couch at Ritual and designed a name and essence for my company. I will remember sketching out letters time and time again on a piece of yellow pad paper, much like you used to practice writing your signature back in junior high. These are the moments of my journey I hope to remember. This is the beginning of it all, this amazing path I'm crafting for myself. And that was on August 25th. 2014, 4 years ago. September is when I started meditating. Even though I didn't quite understand how to do it or why I was doing it, I just knew it was something that was important for me to do. In October, I started learning about personal finance, which I didn't know anything about, and I still have a lot left to learn. And Michael and I traveled to Europe together. So let's jump forward to July of 2015. Let's just skip a couple months. July 8th, 2015, Monday, I bought myself a refurbished Canon Rebel EOS T5i from B&H in New York. I'm going to finally start a YouTube channel, and I couldn't be more excited. To think, I have started an Etsy shop, a blog, and now YouTube. I wish I could create more things for Chisel and Sand, which was my Etsy shop. YouTube will be something I can do from anywhere. I have all kinds of video ideas already. It feels so good to be creative again, and I'm excited to share and connect with other people. So obviously I started my YouTube channel and I edited my videos on my old MacBook from 2006, and it was so slow, you guys. It was so slow, and it took so much longer to edit videos because of just the processing power. For a long time, I just propped my camera up on the windowsill under a couple books to to get the right height. Eventually I went to Best Buy and bought a cheap tripod that broke almost immediately, and it's still the tripod I use today because it just doesn't leave my house and I hold it together with tape. That's where Femmehead started. September 3rd, 10:45 a.m. In my spare time, I have been researching, reading, filming, editing, designing. And get this, it's all for free. I'm currently making $0 from any of these projects, yet I love it. And I'm constantly wondering, what if this was my job? And so that's my goal, self-employment, where I research, read, write, film, edit, create, talk, share. For now, it's a hobby, something to give me purpose in my free time. I can feel it though, progress, moving forward, taking steps in the right direction. What if this was my job? September 3rd, 2015, 3 years ago. Well, less than 3 years ago. September was also when I started the period bag project, and October was when I dropped off my first donation of period kits to a local shelter. We traveled to Asia and Southeast Asia in October, and I almost left my camera in an airport in Japan, and like that would have been devastating because I could not afford another camera at that point, and this camera was my life. For this trip, I actually didn't bring my computer with me. In my journals, I know that like I yearned so hard to be working while especially in Chiang Mai, because Michael was working on his computer. He was like making notes for a race he had announced, and I just remember like itching to work. And that was actually the last trip that I did not bring all of my work things with me. I can't imagine not having my computer with me on a trip. And then after I got back from Asia, Southeast Asia, it's when I started my minimalism journey. So that's when I did my big declutter of my closet and started going around my house and going through my things and getting rid of stuff. And that's when I started talking about minimalism on Femmehead. And yeah, so minimalism, 2015. I also ordered a planner for 2016 so I could start getting organized for Femmehead and start planning out my content. Around this time, I wrote a blog post on an old blog I had before I had femmehead.com, and I wrote it was about manifesting, and it was all because of what I'd been learning through Vanda on her blog and her website. I linked to her, obviously, because I wanted to give her some credit and I wanted other people to discover it. I didn't know this, but apparently when people link things, the people that have them see them. So she saw that I'd linked, she went and read it, she like reached out to me, which still to this day blows my mind, and she basically offered for me to be her intern the following year. In return, she would give me life coaching, and that was a big turning point for Femmehead. December is when I started writing morning pages, and it also when I hit 1,000 subscribers on Femmehead, which is wild because I remember back at that time of like watching every single new subscriber coming in, and it was a huge deal. And like subscribers are still a big deal, but I don't look at like each individual subscriber I get and go and look at who they are and be like, oh my god, someone else wants to follow me. Like I still remember when I had my first subscriber, like, and it wasn't someone I knew. And then we move into 2016, and this is when things really started happening for Femmehead. I started doing my like coaching internship with Fienda, and she was like, why do you not have a website yet? You need to have a website. And I was like, do I? And she's like, yes, absolutely, you need to make a website. So I made femmehead.com. I hit 5,000 subscribers in February, which was mind-boggling because I just hit 1,000 in December. And April was when I started making a tiny amount of money from YouTube for the first time. And I mean tiny, like I made like 8 cents a day. I launched my first course for Femmehead in June, which is actually Chart Your Cycle, and it's still my most like popular course. And I had my first coaching client in June as well, my first one-on-one coaching client. And if you guys are interested in any of that, I'll put all that stuff is in the description box as usual. On June 11th of 2016, I wrote, I'm constantly feeling shifts in my direction, small realignments to get me more on my path. So then, I don't remember if this was my first interview, but Vienda interviewed me for a podcast she was doing for a program she was putting on, which was pretty cool. And that was my first like Femmehead podcast interview. October was when Michael and I got married in 2016, which is such a magical time. And then December is when I decided that I was going to go for it full time. So I have a journal entry from January 4th actually. Today was a big step among a journey of baby steps towards the life I want to lead. A week ago today, I sent Michael a text message telling him I was finally ready to quit Bait Shop. And it was this beautiful, positive, amazing moment. I have yearned for this moment since I began working there almost 4 years ago. Bait Shop was this amazing thing that was exactly what I needed at the time. It allowed me the freedom and the flexibility to pursue who I was becoming. There was days that I walked to work with such anxiety in my chest that I must have been on the verge of a panic attack. For the longest time, I really disliked telling people that I worked there. I had this instilled embarrassment of being a waitress, or telling people that I was not currently a college student, and yes, I had my degree. But in the past few months of Femhead success, I found myself using it as a crutch to not live in the full glory of my success. Yes, I would start by saying something about Femhead, but I always fell back on adding, oh, and I work a few days a week at a little bar. I only now realize that I was hiding myself from living my full potential. To think of the number of times I have said out loud to myself, I'm going to be done by blank month, only to reach that month without the backup necessary. I think I last said it 2 summers ago to everyone that I would be done in October, but I didn't have the finances and income in order to follow through with that wish. And eventually I quit looking off into the distance at some hypothetical date. Instead, I zeroed in on the present. What was I going to accomplish that day to get me where I wanted to be heading? I found satisfaction in my work at Bait. I let go of the anxiety and the embarrassment of not being in line with where society told me I should be. I said, fuck it, I'm carving my own path. Bait Shop became a means to an end. It wasn't who I was or what I was becoming. It was the lifeline on which I built my empire. I am beyond grateful for my time there, of the relationships built and experiences and memories made. But I'm not scared. I'm unbelievably excited. I'm so incredibly motivated to see how big I can go, and not in a fame sense. No, how many lives can I touch? December is when I made my decision, and I was going to follow through with it. That January, our trip to Bali was going to be the end of my time at the restaurant. It came and it went, and I went through with it, and here we are. 2017 was my first full year at Femhead. I launched my second course, Stitch to Pill, in January. In April and May of last year, I did a few side jobs painting houses to supplement my income, because even though, like, for the most part, I had the minimum necessary income I needed from Femhead to, like, survive, I've always said, and I always continue to say, like, I never want money to be the reason that I fail at something. I don't want money to be the reason I can't do Femhead. So if I need to supplement my income somehow, I will, just so I can keep doing this because I enjoy it so much. So then I did another podcast interview, and I actually ordered my second camera, my G7X. And then I started vlogging, and I started my second channel in June of last year. And then I hit 50,000 subscribers in July, which is wild to think about. Like, 50,000 people is an insane number of people. Last August is when I sold my first batch of Femhead shirts and tote bags, and like, that was so cool to see, and it still is cool when I see pictures of people wearing their Femhead stuff. And I actually have a few shirts left if you guys are interested. That is also linked down below. And this all brings us to the current year of 2018. At this point, I have supported myself in Femhead for over a year now. I think a year and a half now, which is mind-boggling, like beyond my wildest dreams. Like, if you would have told me this 2 years ago that I would be at this point, that I would be making my own money enough to support myself, like, I am by no means making a ton of money. Like, I am making just enough money to live comfortably and not like stress about finances. But if you told me that this was possible, I would have been like, that's really cool, but I don't think it is. So the fact that I'm here is just like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I still sometimes like have to step back and be like, what is life? In January of this year, Michael and I went to Sri Lanka for 3 weeks for a vacation with some friends. And on the plane ride over there, I got water onto my laptop, and then it decided that it just wasn't gonna work in Sri Lanka. And I thought I had toasted it, and like, that was super stressful because laptops are expensive. The one I have, I spent $1,400 on, and I don't have like $1,400 lying around to buy a new laptop. I'm not that cash heavy. Like I said, I have enough to like pay my bills. And so I was really stressed about that. I was really like frustrated that I couldn't work while I was there, because I was like so excited to work on a new course I was that I'm still working on. But I just try to let it go. I try to enjoy myself, and I try to make the most out of the vacation for what it was, like vacation and just like stepping back and relaxing. Then in February, when we came back, I like had to come up with a solution. And like I said, like, I could not afford a new laptop. So I ordered a keyboard case for Michael's iPad, and I started working on that. And It sucks so bad. That is fine if you just need a keyboard to like write things. If I just had a blog, if I just had a website and it just had to write emails and blog posts, it would have been fine. I could not edit videos on that iPad, and that was so frustrating. And I think I tried to edit one video and I was super frustrated. I went into Apple. I took my laptop into Apple, and I took one of Michael's old laptops that needed a new screen into Apple. And so I wanted to see if like there was anything to be done about my laptop, and I was gonna get Michael's laptop fixed for $400, get a new screen put on it so I would have a laptop to use. And honestly, I just wanted my stuff off of my laptop. Like, I was hopeful that I could get my stuff off. I just thought it was toast. Like, I thought I water damaged it and it was bad. So we like filled out the paperwork and everything to send Michael's computer to get fixed. And then he was like, okay, I'm gonna take your computer, I'm gonna go in the back and I'm gonna open it up and look at it. And so he comes back out like 5 minutes later and he's like, well, I didn't see any water damage in there. And I was like, well, that's weird. He's like, do you have a charger with you? And I was like, yeah. And so we plugged it in, and he did some sort of like fancy like keyboard configuration turn on thing, and it turned on. And you guys, I will never forget this moment, because seeing like that little white Apple sign and like my computer turning on was an amazing feeling, because it was like, I'm not gonna have to buy a new computer. I'm not gonna have to figure that out. I'm not gonna have to spend $400 to get Michael's computers fixed, because my computer freaking works. And so I was like, so I didn't expect this to happen, sir, but can I cancel the order on the other computer and we'll just take it home? And then Michael's, his computer started working. So it was just wild. So while this one was getting fixed and it took like a week or two, I used Michael's computer that also came back to life to edit videos. And life was freaking grand. I have done a couple of podcast interviews this year. In May, I was on the Yoga Body podcast, and in June, I was on the Lavender podcast, and I'll link both those down below. Let's come to present moment right now, because like I've told you the story. I hopefully have shared like some of like the mental emotional turmoil of like struggling and like the successes and stuff, and like how it wasn't a clear path. It seems like I'm good now, right? Like it seems like I've made it. I've accomplished like my goal. Things aren't set in stone like that. I could fail at any moment. Things could flop, like something could happen and just ruin me. To be honest, these past like 2 months, not including the past 2 weeks, but like the 2 months before that, maybe even more than that, I was in a slump of funk, you guys, with work, with life, and I just had a really hard time getting motivated and inspired for Femmehead. I was just not excited about the content I was creating, and like I think that showed through my videos and my blog posts. Like I think it was very obvious that I was not feeling it, and I don't know why that was or what happened, but then like something clicked and changed, and I just had this overwhelming sensation of like a fresh start, and I felt reinvigorated for life and for what I was doing with Femmehead. That was such a good feeling. That was such a great moment, and like I didn't even realize that I was in that place until I wasn't in that place anymore, until I was coming out of that. My point in all of this is that there is not a clear-cut path in life. There are certain careers you can go down, like a doctor or a lawyer, where like you know the steps you need to take to get to the end goal, and there are people out there that like have their shit together and know like what they need to do to get to where they want to be. But that was not me. I did not know what I wanted to be in life, what I wanted to do. And even when I started to figure out like this little thing, this is what I'm interested, like I did not know how that was gonna happen. I didn't know how I was gonna start it, create it, make money from it. And yet you just have to take chances, and you have to keep moving forward, and you have to keep putting yourself outside of your comfort zone, just little by little by little, and just keep pushing yourself. And there's still plenty of areas in which I need to continue to challenge myself to this day, but it's such an exciting ride. There are still times to this day where I wonder, am I gonna be able to make this work? Am I gonna be able to like pay my bills? But most of the time, I just get to go out and do what I love every single day, and that is awesome. So this is the story of Femmehead to this point. It will change in a couple months, it will change in a year, and that is awesome, and I'm so excited for where I get to go. I hope this like gave you some insight into my story, Femmehead story, and like how things aren't like rainbows and butterflies and super easy. And if there's something you want to do it. Just go for it. You never know until you just take that first little baby step. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to Femmehead for more of me, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!